Wow, two beasts. Roelly the Beast Winkler and Carlos Thomas Jr. Roelly, of course. He is semi-retired. He's looking pretty buff these days, so he may actually come back to bodybuilding. But I don't know. He is basically a former IFBB great. He is a legend. 2018 here, he was in his prime. Third place at the Olympia. At least 154 of you fellers, some fellacies, baby plays, wanted to see this one. That's how many voted for it. And this is the suspect that wanted to see it. So thank you, Halfazil. Whatever. Here's the front double bicep pose, and I can hear you guys now. But Mark's Max Muscle, you missized this one. Well, I've never seen Roelly the Beast Winkler stand next to Carlos Thomas Jr., so maybe I did. But I refuse to make Roelly any taller. I don't think he's that tall, and Carlos is not that short. But if I had made Carlos any bigger, I mean, look at the size of those legs. But it could be a situation where Carlos really is that gosh darn big. Now, I don't remember Roelly having small wheels, but stand him next to Carlos Thomas Jr. and saddlebags he does not seem to have. And Carlos has a fantastic shape. Look at the little tiny waistlines on both of these caricatures. These superhero-like physiques. Arms! Ah! In both cases, these two dudes. This is the Gun Patrol. No? The Gun Patrol? Oh. I thought it sounded cooler in my mind. Gun Patrol. Made a little song and everything. Now this is Roelly at the 2010 Arnold Classic. It's where he made his pro debut. And dare I say, he looked outstanding. He almost looked in better condition back in his day. Not nearly as huge. Now, I believe Carlos, he's going to refine himself because he's already big enough. Look at the size of him. And he will be making his return to the stage very, very soon at that Arnold Classic event. So we're going to see the best ever of Carlos Thomas Jr. very soon. But man, oh man, Roelly looks good here at the Arnold Classic. It was a very famous debut back then. If you guys remember, some of you fellers and fellacies that were watching bodybuilding, he turned some heads, as they say. Quoted his Wikipedia there. They turned some heads. Yes, he did. Here's the front lat spread. And so did Carlos Thomas Jr. turn some heads at that Texas Pro. He got third, if you remember. The only two guys that beat him were Hunter Labrada and Andrew Jacked. Both of those guys, arguably their best versions at that Texas Pro. So that says easily Carlos could win a pro show. For sure he could. Think about it. Roelly Winklaar, he was very refined here. He was huge. Might even made him even taller. See his far leg? He's holding it quite straight. Straighter than he did in the front double. You size police will get on me. But I had admittance of guilt anyway. I've never seen these two dudes stand next to each other. But either way, Carlos looks very good. His X frame is just nice. And Roelly, here at the Olympia, he looked pretty good. Usually his upper body was not the best. His clavicle didn't look as wide as some of the guys. Of course, Phil Heath was up there too, and he kind of had the same type of deal. So actually looked pretty good here. And his refinement, his conditioning, outstanding. But look at the lower half. Look at the wheels, the legs. Legs? Leagues. You guys want me to say leagues? I will. No, I won't. But yeah, he has some feathering in those quads. Excellent. So pretty close, which is surprising. Turn to the side, and I say it is surprising. And oh my soul. Look at the size of the legs on Carlos. legs, legs, whatever you want to call them. That is a Brontosaurus Rex, I'm here to tell you. Usually, Roelly, he makes guys look like little thinlets, little dandelion spurs in the legs from the side point of view. From the front, he's no Tom Platz. We'll give Tom Platz another little shout out there, a good one this time. Yeah, he's no Tom Platz, but from the side, he is very impressive. And the separation, things of that nature, yes, he's probably in better condition than Carlos Thomas Jr. But the thing of it is, guys, and the reason why I said earlier on there a minute ago, that's surprising to me, Carlos is making his pro debut here. His professional debut. And this is Roelly Winklaar at his peak of his career. Third best in the world at a very competitive time, too. But anyway, Roelly, very difficult to defeat as far as the delts, biceps, triceps are concerned. And when you look at Carlos Thomas Jr., he has a great big manly chest. Look at the size of that. I think that's the biggest man's chest that I've ever seen. Maybe Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, I'm telling you right now, Carlos Thomas Jr.'s great big man's chest. Now the side tricep, little unfair to use for Carlos Thomas Jr. This is from a lineup. It's angled off and it's tilted downward, so it makes his upper body smaller, things of that nature, and it's blurry anyway. So here is the back shots, beginning with the rear lat. Now there was a couple of different pictures of Carlos that I could have chose. The other one, he was a little wider, I think, but this one, it showed that three-dimensional thickness in the traps, and I like this one better, I think. Now, condition? Said Roelly was in better condition. He has some good detail in the back. I'll give him that. But lower half? I don't know. These guys are in similar type condition. Could you imagine throwing a measuring tape up and around those gray big quads of Carlos? Him and Rubiel, Muscular. They'd have the biggest quad development in the IFBB. I wonder who does in the history of bodybuilding. Who has the biggest quads? Lou Ferrigno? Here's the rear double. And it looks like Roelly Winklaar could be in trouble. He doesn't have the upper-lower body balance that Carlos Thomas Jr. has. Very similar are the back developments of Roelly the Beast Winklaar and Carlos Thomas Jr. A very nice fellow, by the way. I was lucky enough to be on EP09's podcast, and Carlos Thomas Jr. was the guest. And he is a very level-headed fellow. You know, some of them bodybuilders, they think, oh, I'm going to win the Olympia, and they place last. You know what I'm saying? He has realistic goals, expectations, but I don't know. He might be undercutting his own expectations. Maybe not. He looks pretty darn good against third best in the world. Do you guys understand that? Now the abs and thighs a little tricky. This is the finals, first of all, of Roelly the Beast Winklaar, and it looks like it's thinned him out because it's tilted a little bit. Should be bigger and wider than that, shouldn't he? Versus Carlos Thomas Jr. But either way, doesn't really matter. Roelly Winklaar, in particular, here at the 2018 Mr. Olympia, not so much all of his versions, but here at the 2018 Mr. Olympia, this is in my top, maybe 5, top 10 for sure, best, most favorite abs and thighs of all time. This was going shot for shot with Sean Roden that night. I'm telling you right now. Love this abs and thigh. Of course, Carlos has the overall shape. Look at that. Quads, small waistline, good V-taper as well. And then the most muscular to finish this one off. And I've battled back and forth with the sizing of these two dudes. I honestly think there is one X factor. The size of the quads on Carlos Thomas Jr. are bigger than any of us would actually believe. I mean, he only competed at that Texas Pro. Hunter Labrada, known for some of the biggest quads in the IFBB. And I mean, Andrew Jacked is a giant, so it's hard to tell how big his quads are. But either way, guys, he is very impressive in the upper body as well. So it's the whole package, you know. Oh, I like this one here. I like the hands on hips. This is a nice pose, a nice finalization. Roelly. It's hard actually to get most musculars of this man, pictures of him anyway, from the 2018 Mr. Olympia. Isn't that weird? Isn't that odd? He was very streamlined. He was more of a piece of artwork than a great big monster. Of course, these guys both very aesthetically pleasing, which will most certainly add to the popularity of Carlos Thomas Jr., and I'm sure contributed to how popular Roelly the Beast Winklaar was. I remember when this guy hit the scene, he rapidly became one of my favorite bodybuilders, if not my favorite there at one point in time. Even over, Kai Green, Phil Heath, all those guys. I really liked Roelly Winklaar. Very aesthetic bodybuilder, like Carlos. But I think more than that, they are very nice guys. Roelly Winklaar. I'd never heard anybody ever once say anything bad about this guy. And Carlos, very nice gentleman too. And actually, like I said, I've been on the podcast, heard the guy talk. So a very nice guy and an aesthetic physique. He will be quite a popular bodybuilder as the future unfolds. I can guarantee it. And he's going to be good too. Third best in the world? Will he get a third at the Olympia? I don't know. He could get better. It was a tighter lineup back then too. You have to consider Roelly might win the Olympia nowadays. That'd be a question. But either way, guys, obviously, a pro debut versus a third place legend in his prime. Obviously, there's going to be some refinements. Conditioning was closer than I thought. I gotta tell you that. So Carlos Thomas Jr. Of course, Roelly's condition, that was good when he made his debut as well. Have a nice one, guys.